Carlos Sainz sealed his first F1 victory in an astonishing British Grand Prix as a frightening first lap crash preceding an instant-packed race with Lewis Hamilton battling at the front, Charles Leclerc losing his lead late on and Max Verstappen falling back with Red Bull damage. A Silverstone epic started in dramatic circumstances. A multi-car crash saw Zhou Guanyu's Alfa Romeo flip upside down and over the tyre barriers, with the Alfa Romeo driver thankfully unhurt after a trip to hospital. After a lengthy red flag at pole, Sainz twice looks to have lost his big chance behind Verstappen early on and Leclerc later, but a safety car played her into his hands and he overtook his Ferrari teammate for the win. Ferrari controversially did not pit Leclerc, who had fine pace despite major damage from fighting the Red Bulls at the start for fresh tyres like Sainz. Hamilton was also right in contention at his home race in a Mercedes that was often faster on track, but after some feisty battles with Sergio Perez, he was forced to settle for third behind the Red Bull. Lewis was on it today, one of his days, but we managed to hold on, said Sainz, claiming his first GP victory in 150 starts. I gave everything, had an exhausted Hamilton. They were just too quick for us. Perez, who suffered early damage from Leclerc and fell to 13th, survived an investigation for his driving as Mexican. Hamilton and Leclerc were involved in F1's own version of wacky races for the final 10 laps after the restart. Not involved in that thrilling fight was Verstappen. The Dutchman took the lead at the start, but then suffered a pit stop, inducing punches and structural damage to his car. Verstappen, who also had contact with Leclerc, managed to fight the race in 7th with his title lead over Perez, now cut to only 34 points. Fernando Alonso did get in the action and finished 5th for Alpine, ahead of McLaren's Landon Norris. Fellow Brit George Russell was the driver who hit Zhou at the start, enforced by attack from Pierre Gasly, and had to retire. British-born Alex Albon was caught up in a separate collision and has gone to hospital for precautionary checks. Only 14 drivers finished the race, while Mick Schumacher managed to score his first points in for Haas in 8th, very nearly overtaking Verstappen through the final 3 corners. It was an incredible race at Silverstone, but one that started with a horrifying clash. After lights out, Gasly tried to squeeze between Russell and Zhou before backing up, but nudging the Mercedes, which then in turn hit the Alfa Romeo. Dramatically, Zhou's car flipped upside down and skidded along the gravel before launching over the barriers and hitting the debris fence. It was then wedged between the two. Russell rushed over to see if he could help, while there was no immediate replays afterwards, as F1 waited to hear on Zhou's condition and drivers waited nervously back in the pits after the red flag. Thankfully, Zhou was stretched away and was moving, while Alfa Romeo confirmed he was conscious throughout. He returned to the paddock later after the hospital checks with the halo, which separated Zhou's helmet from the track and then the gravel, possibly saving another life. Also at the start, Sebastian Vettel hit Alex Albon, pushing him into Yuki Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon. A sellout crowd of over 140,000 had to wait nearly an hour for the restart, which saw the grid return to their qualifying orders due to the red flag, despite Verstappen passing Sainz at the first start. At the next start, Sainz somehow held off Verstappen before there were 2 clumsy Leclerc conditions. First, when trying to pass the Red Bull of Perez and then the Red Bull of Verstappen. Verstappen didn't seem to have too much damage at DRS and chased down Sainz before a mistake from the Spaniards out of Beckett's gave the Red Bull lead, but it didn't last long. Zooming to pick up a puncture through the same high-speed corners, Verstappen was re-overtaken by Sainz before pitting, though it became apparent he had fundamental car damage and eventually did well to finish the race, let alone score points. Hamilton and Mercedes hadn't been in race contention all season before Sunday, but they had a great chance at the British Grand Prix. With Leclerc stuck behind Sainz, Hamilton cut the Ferrari's lead and was posting fastest lap after fastest lap before Sainz's stop. Hamilton was then second behind Leclerc in true fight for the lead before Monegasque pitted, and the 7-time champion then extended his stint. Hamilton stopped with 20 laps remaining and seems in a great position to hunt down the Ferraris. A safety car for Ocon reliability stoppage was initially seen as good news for Hamilton as it cut the gaps, but it also allowed Sainz to stop for soft tyres, deleting Hamilton's tyre advantage. Hopes for a record ninth win then disappeared, with Hamilton passed by Perez at the restart, while Sainz got ahead of Leclerc and sped away. Hamilton still saving the equal best record of the season in third after passing Leclerc himself, following a thrilling three-way battle between the Ferrari and Perez. Leclerc had significant damage to his front wing after his early clashes, but was still faster than Sainz on Sunday. It appeared to be heading towards a well-deserved win after Ferrari finally instructed Sainz to let his teammate pass due to the threat of Hamilton, but after the safety car, Ferrari raised eyebrows by deciding not to pit Leclerc for the soft tyres, with those behind him coming in. That left title contender a sitting duck to Sainz and then ultimately Perez and Hamilton despite his best efforts. Leclerc had been frustrated by Ferrari's strategy throughout the race, and team boss Mattia Binotto was seen having a stern word with him afterwards, although both tried to play down the encounter. Either way, it did not appear to make much sense not to pit both drivers, given that even if Hamilton had stayed out, both would have had a big tyre advantage to get back ahead. In the end, the Ferrari driver still won, but will the decision cost Leclerc a title race? Potentially. F1's European season continues at pace with the Austrian Grand Prix next weekend, where we see the return of sprint qualifying, so qualifying on Friday night, sprint on Saturday, and that sets the grid for the race, which gets underway at 2 p.m. And yeah, the Red Bull Ring course is a place where Max Verstappen and Red Bull usually enjoy huge success, and will that continue next weekend? I guess we'll have to find out. Before I go, let me run you through the final classification for today's race, and Carlos Sainz, of course, picking up the victory. And yeah, I don't think he was the best driver on the field today, but he did what he needed to do. Obviously got lucky with a strategy decision at the end, and claimed his first win of the season. And yeah, for me it's deserved. He'll be delighted with that. Perez as well, obviously did get a bit lucky with the safety car, but fantastic comeback driving and picking up crucial points for Red Bull in second. He'll be very happy with that. Hamilton in third, yeah, I don't know if he'll be frustrated or not, because don't get me wrong, it's just a brilliant drive, but with that slow pit stop and that safety car, he really could have won that race, and that would just been so amazing to see. But in the end, there wasn't to be another good podium for Hamilton. He's coming back on form now. Leclerc in fourth. Yeah, what can you say? Another race where he drove perfectly with damaged car. But yeah, Ferrari kind of screwed up for him again. He'll be absolutely gutted. Alonso in fifth. Yeah, kind of maximising the result between the top three teams, so he'll be happy with that. Norris in sixth. Obviously a slight strategy blunder, but still not a bad result. Verstappen in seventh. Yeah, what can you say about that? Obviously got incredibly unlucky with the damage, but still a very good recovery drive, kind of reminiscent of Hungary 21. And then Schumacher in 8th, finally he's got his first points, and he'll be so happy with that, and hopefully he can build on it now. And a big day for Haas with Magnussen getting a point as well. Vettel in 9th, yeah, I think they left him all mediums after the safety car, which is obviously the wrong thing to do. But some more points for Aston Martin, they'll be happy with that. Stroll just missing out, he'll be disappointed, as will Latifi, because it kind of felt like the race he could have got a point, but still not a bad result for him. And then you got Ricciardo in 13th and Tsunoda in 14th. Obviously Tsunoda, that collision with Gasly was just horrendous, and yeah, not great for him at all. Really, you can't do that really, especially after the mistake he made in the last race. And then Ricciardo in 13th, yeah, just had no pace, finishing behind Latifi, really, really poor, you have to say. Ocon gutted for him with the reliability failure at the end of the race. Gasly I've already touched on, wasn't his fault, but yeah, promising day for AlphaTauri just totally ruined, and we said that far too much this season. Bottas gutted for him because it looked like he was going to pick up solid points before the DNF. And then Russell, Zhou and Albon. Yeah, for me, I think if I had to portion blame for that crash, it would probably be Russell, just kind of moving along. But for me, it's probably a racing incident, and the main thing is Zhou and Albon are okay, and that's the main thing really. And that's with everything that's gone on today, probably the best news we can take from today. So yeah, that's all there is to say really. Anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and if you comments down below. If you want to subscribe for daily F1 news and subscribe to my channel, and I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.